I want to thank everybody for taking the time, and I'll try to make this brief. Um, I think the best steps here, with the number of people we have, Craig and I were talking about this call a little while ago. We're going to avoid the first 4 or 5 pages of the deck. You guys are all pretty smart lithium investors. You know the numbers, you know the industry, but it's helpful having it in the deck anyways. And I think, Craig, you're probably going to start at the 30,000 view of Tanzania, and give some background on the geology and some comparisons maybe to Nevada. But I'll leave that in your hands. And everybody that's on the call, the best way to do this is, because you may have some questions and you may forget them by the end of the presentation. What Craig and I thought was, as we go through each slide, we'll give some time if anybody has any questions, and then we can go to the next slide. And if anybody has any questions, same thing, be happy to answer anything. And I think that'll work best. And then at the end, if there's anything outstanding, we can go over that. So without anything else, Craig, the stage is yours.
Okay, sure, guys. Hey, welcome everybody. Yeah, just to get some confusion out of the way first, our company's current name is China Dongshan International Limited, which is essentially a terrible name. So moving forward, the company will be called Titan Lithium Inc. That name change is underway, and the whole Titan projects here in Tanzania basically gave their name. And of course, I named them Titan because of the size consideration here. I mean, they're truly remarkable. Okay, so as discussed, we're not going to dive deep into the first couple slides. However, it is important to realize that the current production of lithium today is mainly from mines in Australia, Zimbabwe, China, Argentina, Chile, and that to increase the production is not going to be easy for those mines. They're already often at peak capacity, and to meet the demands, the future demands, new mines have to come online, which does take time. If you have something in Canada, Australia, wherever, and you want to open it, it takes months, years. So just even environmental permitting often takes time. Regarding Africa, Harp and I had previously been involved in Tanzania years ago in gold projects. And since that day when we left, I still have been involved in a company or several companies with the engineer that's still there, reviewing projects constantly with him. And he's the kind of guy that I think every weekend, maybe he drives out and he's sampling and looking around. And he's essentially the discoverer of this project. But when he came to me with it, I said, well, why is this project so interesting? And it's partly due to the continental volcanism associated with the rifting of the African plate and the Horn of Africa. You might have heard about this or might have talked about East African Rift, but it's essentially a spreading ridge like we see in the Atlantic. And as it opens, there's been a lot of volcanism that's also created light elements. This is continental volcanism, so it's not like oceanic volcanism where you see thick lavas like in Hawaii. These are more ash cloud types, and they've already been associated with helium deposits in this area. So that's a very light element. It's the second lightest element in the universe, and lithium is the third lightest element. So looking at the volcanisms, one of the largest volcanoes is Mount Kilimanjaro. It's a huge stratovolcano. It's the tallest mountain in Africa. And we look to see that there's a catchment basin here to the southeast. I mean, it's sort of like sometimes you see these volcanoes that have erupted and you see a tongue of lava, rolling down from this hill. Essentially, this is the same kind of idea where the ash flows, the mud flows called lahars, were trapped in this basin after, being escaping from the volcano. And the volcano last erupted in about 360,000 years ago, so it's quite dormant these days, but it erupted many times over the last 2 million years. And those deposits being caught in this little basin, the erosional pathway would have been to the south. This river flows to the south. So we think this basin here in the south probably caught a lot of those elements eroding from the volcanic muds. I mentioned that helium has been found. It's actually been found to the southwest of Mount Kilimanjaro, and I wouldn't be surprised if this valley also contained some helium deposits. So the discovery was made to the north, actually, in a hard rock setting, but it lent the prospector to go out to the flats, which are very similar to the flats you see in Argentina, Chile, Nevada, called salars, and they often contain lithium either in brine deposits or within clays and mudstone deposits that are fairly flat lying in these areas. So he did some large prospecting scale work, and he got some spectacular results. The lines 1 and 2 here, he received 600 to 13,000 parts per million lithium. Now, to put that in perspective, when we look at Nevada, and I looked at everything that had been sampled in Nevada by the United States Geologic Survey, and their best result was around 250 to 300 parts per million lithium in some of the best basins. So here we're seeing 600 to 13,000. Over the Thacker Pass, they received around 300, 350 parts per million. So this is a really significant geochemical anomaly. And as such, we extended those lines both to the north and south and added lines to the east and west. So the entire coverage now originally was about 10 miles long, or 14 kilometers long for metric or people, to now 22 kilometers long, which is about 15 miles or so. So this is a truly huge occurrence. And we're still waiting on assay results from the majority of the second phase of sampling. So in general, when you look at this thing, that's the main body here, back to this picture, and compare it against the largest deposits in the US, namely Thacker Pass, that contains 8.2 million tons of lithium carbonate equivalent, and the TLC project, which currently stands at the largest resource. However, another company is claiming it's got a bigger one. But this is, both of those resources are in JORC 43101 compliant categories. So that level of trust is very high. And Thacker Pass has all been greenlit for exploitation recently by the US courts, and has received $650 million of funding by GM. So that'll be an exciting project going forward. However, let's look at those projects at the same scale as the Titan lithium project. And we see that the Titan project truly dwarfs them. And our grades also dwarf these two deposits. The Thacker Pass deposit, the grade is 2,900 parts per million lithium. And the TLC project, it grades 800 to 700 parts per million lithium. So what we're seeing over here again was 600 to 13,000.
Craig, do you mind if I just add a little anecdotal story before you continue on? So just as a reference, when we first were presented this opportunity by the engineer in Tanzania, his name's Lawrence Stevenson. He's an engineer and he's got an MBA. He's a long history in the mining business. Very reputable guy. When he first sent us a map, well, he sent it to Craig initially, a map and some of the results he had.
He said
I
that
mean, they were
mountain.
they were mind blowing. And honestly, we didn't believe the results. They were just too good to be true. So the last 3, 4 weeks while we're waiting on some newer results, there's probably in excess of 110 or 115 samples at the lab. We've been on eggs, whatever it's called, eggs and pins, waiting for these
Eggshells.
results, eggshells, waiting to see, is this some sort of anomaly? Was there an error? Was there something? Because it was too good. And we did get some more results this week. And I can assure everybody we've been sleeping a lot better the last couple of days after getting these results. And maybe you want to, if somebody has any questions, they could ask some questions right now, or Craig, you can keep going. But I just wanted to add that story to the presentation.
For sure. So, anybody have any questions at this moment? Okay, so that's a comparison, by the way, for Thacker Pass and the TLC project. So that's Lithium Americas holds that project. If you want to look at it, check out its market cap. Maybe you know it already. And this is American Lithium. They have a smaller market cap, but they're kind of further down the road to prepare for production than is Lithium Americas. Another good comparative, sort of just for your brain, this yellow line is 17 kilometers long. This yellow line is 17 kilometers long. This is the Salar de Alaroz in Argentina that's in production by Alchem Limited. That's another company you might want to check out. This is mainly their one producing mine, and it contains 6.4 million tons of LCE at a grade of 690 parts per million lithium. So once again, we're seeing that grade to much higher grades within this area, within a very similar sized area. And there's another project we call Titan 2, which is about 40 kilometers to the northwest of Titan 1 project. And it's at a slightly more preliminary stage. There was about 4 or 5 samples taken initially. And since then, we've gone back and sampled over a grid within the central portion. But the initial values here have been up to 9,000 ppm lithium. And this is a fairly big area. I mean, even though it's smaller than Titan 1, if you again compare it against the Thacker Pass and the TLC project, it looks very good. This is at the same scale, with that yellow line being 2 kilometers long. So here we see something that's roughly about 4 to 5 by 6 kilometers. Let's call it a rectangle in that area. So we're looking forward to seeing what comes out of the second phase of the grid sampling here. So getting back to what Harp was saying, when we were waiting for it was actually the third batch of samples coming in from some of the new lines and the extension of the initial discovery. We did receive, again, fantastic results. And it was really good to see, line to line, east to west coordination and verification of the samples. In some cases, we have 0 lithium. So we can see there are some structures probably through this area, maybe a fault, maybe a dike, something separating this upper block here, this northern block, to a central block. So we'll discover in time what everything's like. However, I should say that these yellow samples here, they have not, we haven't received the results yet, so not everything is complete. However, moving ahead with what we've got already, if we just take a look at these blocks and the area of influence of the samples, we can create kind of a mental mining block in our heads. Here, 8.7 square kilometers of 5,000 parts per million lithium. A smaller block, a slightly more mid-grade block, and a southern block here. And if we imagine now that we just take that square kilometers and we assume a very thin sequence, just 20 meters, that's extremely modest. considering this basin might be up to and over 500 meters thick, that we can find that we're already sitting on a huge number of for a resource, a lithium resource. Let's take that resource now and compare it with the largest claystone lithium deposits found within the US right now. We have just recently, this one was announced, I think it was yesterday, this Tonopah Flats one, the TLC project mentioned earlier, Bacanora, which exists in Mexico, and it was bought out from a Canadian company by Ganfeng Lithium out of China. There's the Thacker Pass from Lithium Americas. And then we have some one near the Clayton Valley, and one project called Rhyolite Ridge, which recently received $700 million loan from the US government for getting them up into production. So we take a look, first of all, the resource tonnages and the lithium content. As you can see, most of these clay type deposits range from around 500 to 3,000 parts per million. And the blocks weighted average, that was the weighted average of the total of these 4 blocks, was 4,600. If we want to, of course, we could start mining the higher grade blocks first, which would make sense. But essentially, looking at the Titan 1 project, we see an extremely large, perhaps the world's largest lithium deposit at a very, very good grade. And as well, Titan 2. Now, I've only used 15 meters thickness for Titan 2. I've only stuck to the core. As you recall, I said it was about 5 kilometers by 6 kilometers. So I'm using only 3 by 2 and 15 meters thickness, thinner than Titan 1. And I still come out to be within the top tier categories of deposits in worldwide for these clay hosted. Now, when we say clay, it's more like a volcanic mudstone, as I mentioned, and there may be multiple layers in that basin. With all the various eruptions that have happened over the last 2 million years, I wouldn't expect just one horizon. I would expect several. You do see that in Thacker Pass. You do see multiple horizons. However, in general, Thacker Pass is around 80 meters thick. So we're hoping if we get 80 meters of thickness, that'd be fantastic. We may get thicker. The grade of these Titan 1 and Titan 2 projects is so robust, it can actually be easily compared against the hard rock lithium deposits, which are pegmatites. They're mining pegmatites. You might have followed some of the companies like Patriot Battery Metals. There's Frontier that are finding excellent pegmatites within Canada. The largest pegmatite deposit is the Greenbushes in Western Australia. It's co-owned by Albemarle, probably the largest lithium company in the world, and Tianqi out of China. And it has contained resources of 7.1 million tons of LCE. So as you can see, the Titan 1 project is really impressive with its potential resources. As well, the grades typically are given in lithium oxide, Li2O, for these types of deposits. So if we take a look at Titan 1, it averaged out, remember I threw in a more mid-grade type of deposit, so I could actually have about 1.3%. So that would actually put us into this sort of pegmatite range of grades. So that's extremely good. We have something extremely large and extremely high grade, and hopefully we're just starting here, and we might even extend that area over time with more sampling, as well as plan future drilling. So that's the quick overview of what's been done. Do you guys have any questions? just to review for yourselves, you might want to take a look at a company like Sigma Lithium. Their market cap has extremely robust due to their finds in Brazil. It's lithium. I think I didn't put Sigma in here. No, there they are. But they've got, this is their resource here, LCE, 2.6 million. And does anyone know their current market cap?
Sigma is about 3.5 billion.
Yeah.
Craig, you have a
Hey, so-
question in chat from Jake.
Okay, go ahead.
Oops, this is existing. What is the way ahead timeline to extract and etc.?
Okay, a lot of people often ask, when are you going to produce? And it does take time to get there, but we think we can be fairly quick. We could take a single block rather than the entire, 22 kilometers. If we were to move that into 43101 or JORC compliant category resources, we'd have to be drilling, 2,000 holes. So it would be a lot smarter for us to concentrate on, say, that central northern block. And it had several samples over 10,000 parts per million. Drill that, get that in some format of compliance, and get underway within 3-year time period, which is extremely quick. Okay.
Anybody else? More questions, comments?
Hey, I'm surprised nobody's asked, how did the engineer find this?
There is a funny story there. As with a lot of discoveries, it's done by accident. Our engineer friend, as I mentioned, he's always doing something. He's always running out and sampling something. Well, he was driving to his wife's kind of hometown, and he has a local wife, and they had a flat tire. So while the flat tire is getting fixed, he's wandering around looking at rocks. And in sampling the rock, he got about 16,000 ppm lithium. And that's why he's like, let's take a look around for more. And then he went down to the basin because he also had experience in Nevada looking at lithium in basins there. So thanks to the flat tire.
Craig, Hank, thank you so much for being thorough and giving us a lot of things to work towards. Any word on the name change? Are we looking at maybe a month, depending on that? And then when you do get the name change, is that going to reflect on the website?
Well, we've already changed the website, Hank, to Titan Lithium, so there is no more.
No, I see that. I
CDSG
see that, but it
yeah.
still says, CDSG Lithium.
Yeah.
on it.
So just to give everybody a heads up, all that will be changed by Friday or Saturday.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. And as far as the name change, the issue there is FINRA is very slow. I've spoken to a number of people. Some people have been at it for months.
Yeah,
so there's no predicting.
They're terrible, Harp. They're terrible. Craig, which one excites you more? I mean, out of both of the projects, are they both equally enticing, or the one you were just at, Tanzania, is that the one that really gets you going right now?
Correct. I believe, Hank, you mean Nevada versus Tanzania?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. I think we might have lost Craig. I mean, I can probably answer that. It's definitely Tanzania. Just the size of the footprint that all of us as shareholders have as owners in CDSG, it's massive. And I'm not discounting Nevada. That's a pretty special piece next to American Lithium, but that's a part of a project. This thing we own outright. And again, the grades and the size. So in this case,
Wonderful.
size matters. Yeah.
Yeah, understood. And Harp, will there be more discussions about the relationships with Barrel Energy and a couple of the others that have been mentioned in the future?
But yeah, there will be, and that'll be in some news releases. We do have a call tomorrow with that other party, which has been very painfully slow. But hopefully we have some updates on that as well through a tweet or a news release, hopefully soon.
Okay, thank you guys very much. I just wanted my team to have good, concise information going forward. And we've done a lot in the last couple of months. Craig, thanks for taking that trip over there and locking this deal down. It obviously makes this a very compelling investment going forward. And we're just honored to be working with you. Thank you.
Just to mention, I forgot to mention in the slide presentation, when I compared Titan against Solana, the company
Craig,
that
your
owns-
microphone again, or maybe your microphone again.
No, I don't know can you hear me?
Now it's better.
Okay. I don't know what I've done here. Maybe I've set it on a book to raise it up. Anyway, if you can hear me, the Solar de Alarcos project is going to be 65% by that company. And their market cap is $5 billion. So you can see the sort of what, the market is valuing these projects. It's just massive. So hopefully we can draw attention to Titan 1 and 2 and enjoy a massive rise in valuation.
Craig, there is 2 more questions in the comments. I don't know if you can you click on the chat?
Oh, okay. Where's the chat go to?
So few questions coming in. I can read them to you.
Yeah, there's a question about whether this presentation will be posted. And we're going to release information in a methodical manner that will allow us to so we're going to choose the slides that'll go on. Yes, it's aiming to go on. And the website, Michael here with us now is helping develop it. And we're going to have the name change, everything with the website. So
Yeah, Mike, maybe you can answer that question as far as the website, all this information. I think probably by tomorrow night or Friday, I guess, it'll be totally revamped.
Yeah, website, like you guys saw, website is almost ready. It's not public yet, but we were doing just the final revisions and it should be ready tomorrow, Friday, the latest. Yeah.
Excellent. And somebody also asked if CDSG is the resource company where Barrel, that is correct. Barrel is essentially our technology company and CDSG is our resource company. That's the way we've viewed things moving forward. And we've got some very good, exciting technology in the future for Barrel. And some of that is directly applicable to extraction from clay horizons, just as we're finding in Tanzania and of course, Nevada. So that's very exciting how they go hand in hand. Okay. All right.
Jake is asking, will this presentation and slides be posted on the CDSG website?
Yeah, we answered that. That's right. And it's suffice to say, I don't think anyone has such an exciting target like we do.
Has the acquisition been closed? Do you actually own the property inside the public company now?
Yeah, all the shares were issued on Monday, a couple hours after the announcement was made. So it's signed, sealed, delivered. And then I'm also-
Congratulations, gents. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we just got the results that evening as well. So a lot of that stress disappeared as well. So now,
And also, just to let you guys know, I visited the lab. I talked to the head geochemist, and he's been very careful with these samples. He recognized the fact that we were getting very anomalous results. So when he first ran them, he decided to quadruple check them. He ran them over again and over again. So this is, thankfully we've got a great guy there, and he knew exactly what to do as well. When you hand in a clay, it's not the same as a rock. It has to be dried longer, actually put into an oven at about, I think it's almost 100 degrees Celsius. What is that, 200 degrees Fahrenheit? So he leaves in there for about 8-9 hours. So he did exactly what he should have done, even though our engineer didn't initially ask for that to be done. The guy at the laboratory knew what to do.
I mean, I realize during a presentation, everybody sometimes forgets, if they have a question, and they can send Craig or I an email later, or call one of us if something pops into your heads. But otherwise, if nobody has anything else, I think we could adjourn this call. Or does anybody have any questions?
Sorry, I just wanted to point out one thing, that on this table, I updated it just this morning to include the Tonopah Flats deposit of American Battery, because they've claimed now they've got the largest within the US at 15.8 million tons of LCE. But I just want to keep in mind for people that your resource here is in millions of tons. So that's 5.2 billion tons of material that have to be moved. And typical costs are around $100 to $125 per ton at the very minimum. And so you can imagine how much that costs just to move that. Whereas a higher grade deposit like ours is much cheaper per ton at the end of the day to move and extract lithium from. So it's not only that we have a very large deposit potentially, but we've got one that makes more profit per ton, less waste to move, and more money for your dollar ton moved. So it's an incredible opportunity, this one. Okay, I think that wraps it up.